Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the only referral podcast where you can get real stories of real people getting real referrals. Every week we share inspiring stories and practical tips from people like you to take your repeat and referral business to the next level. I invite you to join our free private Facebook group. Go to joingengen.com. That's joingengen.com, and we'll add you to our referral group. I'm your host, Michael J. Maher, and I'm so excited to share today's episode with you. So let's get started. Welcome everyone to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. We are in the midst of the Triangle of Trust series. Gotten a lot of feedback from all of you about doing the indirect approach versus the direct approach and how it has been working for you. You've been getting more introductions, connections, and referrals. But I have to tell you, the best stories are where they couldn't get the door open. They couldn't figure out how to get their foot in the door with a specific person. And all of a sudden they implemented the triangle of trust. They thought, instead of how do I get to this person, they thought, who do I know that knows this person, and went to the person they knew and got the introduction that they were looking for, had great conversations with the person they already knew, and opened up doors with that person, even though their intent was to get to the third point of the triangle. Just reconnecting with the person that they needed to connect to get to the connection was a win in itself. I mean, how cool is that, right? So today I have my lovely co-host on here with Sherry L. Maher. Welcome, Sherry.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I can't complain. I will tell you that we got some mail. I feel like how many people remember AOL? And they branded themselves.
Nobody remembers that.
I know, but it was like, you've got mail. In fact, they said that, and there was actually a whole movie made with "You've Got Mail." So we got mail. Did we get some mail? Straight from the mailbag. Sherry's going to read from the mailbag. So what did we get?
We got a postcard.
Nice.
We got a postcard.
Who's it from?
From Huntley Cuthrell.
Cuthrell.
There you
Huntley
go.
Cuthrell. Huntley, thank you for the mail.
This was mailed from Raleigh, North Carolina to us in Atlanta, Georgia. But the interesting thing about it is I see that it's postmarked. We literally got this like last Thursday. It's postmarked February 27th.
Wow. So it took a couple months to get that. Interesting.
It took 3 months to get here. So apparently Raleigh, North Carolina is a ways away.
I think there's actually something interesting about that, you know, when you sit, and by the way, I would probably guess that if it had actually been a handwritten note in an envelope, it would have gone faster, because the mail room, they just chuck it through if it's in an envelope. But when it's a postcard, they got to be careful, because on one side is the ink. So they have to hand sort that a lot of times, so it does take longer. I don't think it normally takes 2 months, but it's one of those where, you know, maybe putting that in an envelope. Yeah, maybe putting that in an envelope would have. And just so everybody knows, when you send something, send a handwritten note in an envelope. Put it in an envelope. It just feels richer. It feels stronger in an envelope, and it gets there faster. But the other thing you have to think is, you know, if you were thinking you were going to a listing appointment and then sending a handwritten note right afterwards, and they're immediately going to get it, that may not be the case. It might take 3 or 4 days for them to get it. So just remember that. So
yeah.
What did Huntley?
Well, anyway, so he writes, "Hey, Michael, I see people are talking about you all over town, or at least I am. I can't tell you much I've enjoyed learning and implementing your 7L ideas and concepts. My life has really gotten so much more fun. It's all because of you. Thank you. Hope to see you soon. You rock."
That's awesome. Huntley, that's awesome. And I think that goes to the core of what we're all about, right? It's funprospecting.com. Fun prospecting. If it's not fun, we're not going to do it. And that's another thing about your events, is you're trying to figure out which event to do, you know, and if your choices are like home buyer seminar, home seller seminar, home financing seminar, and happy hour with margaritas, which of those is going to be the most fun for you and for your database or sphere or circle of influence. It's going to be the happy hour most likely. And what if I told you that's the route to go? Right? Is do whatever's the most fun. If you rate your activities based on fun and do the fun ones, you're going to have a better business. Is that not the coolest, craziest thing you've ever heard, or what? Usually it's like, what do you hate the most? Do it early. Eat that frog, right? Eat that frog. Do it all, do that awful thing first, because if you had to eat a frog during the day, you got to eat a frog during the day, then you better do it early, right? But I'm telling you right now, that's a bunch of hooey. And it is a good book, by the way. It is a good book. But I'm telling you right now, first of all, if they said I had to eat I'm not going to eat a frog. I'm not going to eat a frog at any time, any day, period. I'm not going to do it. So that's just like cold calling, just like door knocking, just like a lot of the things people tell you to do is eat a frog, and you just freaking eat the frog? Are you kidding me with that? Don't eat a frog, say frog. Use the questions of frog, which we talked about last time, about family, recreation, occupation, and goals. So make sure that when you're doing things, make sure they're fun. Don't eat a frog. Use frog to your benefit, and everybody wins. All right. So I'm going to read something from Lindsay Rice. Lindsay Rice writes, "Hi everyone. I want to give feedback on our latest events in hopes that you find value in my feedback. I am new to the group, Generosity Generation Group, join gengen.com. And I just finished Event Mastery at the end of April for the first time. Although we have been hosting events since 2018, I took away a key nugget: the system for referrals. Our events have gotten better and better, and I have been wanting to be able to track the ROI, and the referral system with the form and everything else that we do will be the answer. The event I had was a 5K fun run. What is the middle name of 5K fun run? And just so you know, 5K run, not fun, but a 5K fun run has to be fun.
Yes.
I'm just telling you. So that 5K fun run's a much better name than 5K run. I'm just throwing it out there. And it was for mental health awareness with a post barbecue. So you're going to run and you're going to get it rewarded with barbecue. That's a 5K I want to be invited to. The charity was NAMI, Northern Virginia. We were able to secure sponsorships to pay for 99% of this event. Our events in the past, when we started 5 years ago, we were paying more than 90%. So we have come a long way just in our first event.
Nice.
And we have added to the event experience. So this year's event was the most expensive to date, and yet we still had 99% of it paid for. If anyone is interested in more details about my event, just reach out to me directly. You can reach out to Lindsay Rice in the GenGen group. Regarding the referral system and the door prize form and some of the things we did receive 2 buyer referrals for us and 4 referrals for the vendors out of about 85 attendees. I believe if we had run the check-in process like the system says, we would have received more. We messed that up. We had a line at check-in, and when we handed them the form, we should have offered them time to sit down and fill it out. We believe having them stand there in front of us to fill out made them feel rushed, and many didn't complete it. Something to change for the next time. Oh my gosh, they didn't do an event, Sherry, perfectly, and yet they got 2 referrals, and they only paid a fraction, 1%. For the event to actually happen. I mean, that's making money. So she talks a little bit more about exploring the possibilities of their future event, but it says next up is their summer event, followed by a holiday event, which is exactly what we teach in GenGen, and the Referral Mastery System is 3 all-YEP events. And we are working on implementing 2 ambassador events for this year, which is what you have time for. And the bottom line with this is Lindsay, kudos to you for implementing. Kudos for you. Your very first event with us, you got 2 referrals. It's going to be, over 10 to 20 grand in income when it's all said and done. You implemented the sponsor partner part of this to allow other people to help you offset the expenses and get them referrals. And here's the thing. I'm going to help Lindsay, and I'm going to help all of you. Do your next event. You're going to do an event in July. And here's the thing. I'm going to hold your hand step by step through the entire process, and all you have to do is go to eventmastery.com and sign up for Event Mastery. It starts June 6th, which is a Tuesday, and we go 7 weeks where I literally hold your hand, me personally, live coaching on a week by week basis. And the first week we're going to cover planning, and then we cover invitation mastery, then we cover invitation mastery, different types of invitations. And then we handle confirmation mastery, we handle sponsor mastery, partner mastery, charity mastery, event mastery, and follow-up mastery are all part of the event mastery class. Here's the thing. What would that be worth if you just got one referral from your next event? What would that be worth if you just got one sponsor at your next event? It pays for itself. And I'm going to show you how to make money making money. Go check out eventmastery.com. I'm telling you, I'm passionate about it. We've got so many success stories, it's not even funny. And we'd love to have you as one of those success stories so that we can interview you here on Referrals Podcast. So today's subject, we're going to jump right into it, is the continuation of the triangle of trust. And please notice that with event mastery, why is one of the most powerful things that people overlook with events is the triangle of trust happens so fast and it happens so powerfully, and it can happen 100 times at one end. If there's 85 people at her event, Lindsay had 85 people at her event. That's powerful. But if you start to triangulate that, how many triangles of trust were made at that event? And when the triangle of trust happens without Lindsay even there, 3 people meet and they're like, I know Lindsay. And the other person's like, I know Lindsay. And the other person, what are they going to talk about? First of all, they're going to talk about Lindsay and this great charity event and how fun the 5K run was for the first time in their life, where, you know, they were on a couch 6 months before and now they went couch to 5K and it was fun. But they're going to talk about Lindsay. So the triangle of trust happens over and over and over again. And in 85, how many triangle of trust are possible with it? I have no idea what that is, but it's an astronomical number of matches of 3 out of 85 people. So it's one of those where that kicks in a big way. And what I want to talk about today is how we can have that triangle of trust kick in for us, and where we can be part of, where instead of us being the one that's the unknown, we're the known. So the first one that I want to talk about is being the resource for your profession or industry. So if you're an attorney, you're not just an estate attorney. You're not just a business attorney or a corporate attorney. You are the resource on law. Because in most cases, if you're an attorney, you're at a firm where your firm can do a lot of things. They can do IP, intelligent property. They can do divorces. They can do all these different things. So when you are the resource for law, they come to you to be connected to someone else that is going to help them, right? If you're a realtor, then guess what? They come to you and they want to know who can paint, who can do landscaping, who can, and I'm telling you, you want to be the real estate resource. If you're lending, you want to be the lending resource. If you're the financial planner, you want to be the financial resource for your clients. And in many cases, some of those questions they ask is actually going to lead to more business for you. Somebody needs interior decorating help. Well, they get with an interior, what they were really looking for is staging to sell their home. So guess what? When you're the resource, you put yourself in a position to where you are going to get the benefit. But the beautiful thing is the new ABC, the old ABC was always be closing. The new ABC is always be connecting. When you are the connector, please notice that that interior designer can also be a great referral source. So when they're looking for somebody to refer, who are they going to choose when it comes to a realtor? They're going to choose you because you are already referring them lots of business. I mean, it pays off for them to refer you. So be the resource for your profession or industry, and put it out there. Any question you have about blank, come to me. Any question you have about referrals, come to me. Any question you have about events, come to me. I will be your resource and I will help guide you in the right way. And guess what? That's a powerful position to be, because in today's world, the consumer is hear me, help me. In the old days, it was find me, sell me, like hunt me down and overcome my objections and give me your best pitch. Well, that consumer's gone. The consumer of today is so much more powerful. We are powerful. We can take our money anywhere, anytime, and we can tell everyone every time. We're powerful. We have a voice. So guess what? When you come to me and hear them, right? When you hear them, when I hear you, and they don't necessarily believe that you have to have the answer. That's what's so beautiful. Hear them, listen to them, ask great questions, which we've talked so much about. Then help them. Hear me, help me. So hear them and then help them. And I have to tell you that if by helping them, you are sending them to the person who is most likely to help them, even if it's not you, you have to realize you're the beneficiary of that as well. You're in a really powerful position if you will listen to them, ask great questions, and then point them in the direction of where they need to go. And sometimes you're going to simply say, I can help you with that. That happens to be something that we do. And you've got a client, you've got more business, you've got an opportunity. So the first thing that I wanted to say about the triangle of trust is be a point in the triangle of trust and communicate with everyone you know that you are a point in the triangle of trust. You are ready to connect them to people you trust. And guess what? Everybody wins. The second thing that I want to talk about is how do we implement the triangle of trust in networking circumstances? So this is a continuation from part 2, which is the last one we talked about, which were the 7 steps to connecting with connectors. This is one of the most powerful strategies I've ever given on Referrals podcast. And you guys responded. We got a lot of great reviews. I sent out some great books. And I love doing that. And I'm willing to do it again. And here's the thing is, all right, you went to the event. You met 4 or 5 connectors, not directly, but indirectly. You were introduced by the membership chair, president, secretary, treasurer, vice president, operations manager, whoever it might have been. And you had a great frog conversation where you asked a lot of great questions. You heard them, you listened to them. You maybe wrote notes on the back of their business card, just so you would remember that they have a son, Jake, that's 27, and a daughter, Sophia, who's 17. And so you took in that information. And then you scheduled the one-to-one. Now, how is the best way to schedule that one-to-one? You might just think it's scheduling the one-to-one wherever or whenever they can make it. And I'm telling you right now, that's not the answer. The answer is to have a home court advantage. The answer is have a place where you are a regular, where everyone knows your name, Norm, like Cheers. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Cheers, you can look it up on YouTube and see the grainy, old, barely color film from when we watched Cheers on small TVs that were very large. So bottom line is that the theme song to Cheers was everyone wants to go where everyone knows their name. And guess what? That's what you want to do with a restaurant, like a Hereford House or a Capitol Grill or an EBT, like I write about in 7L. It's EVT, but my restaurant was EBT in Kansas City. But the private rooms at Hereford House and Capitol Grill make a ton of sense for this. And a back corner booth makes a ton of sense, like Canoe, another restaurant here in the Atlanta area. Great restaurant because you can get a corner booth and you can hear. It's very private, even because they have the high back booths. So you need to pick somewhere, and you need to treat the hostess or host, the manager, the owner, the wait staff like $1 million. Learn their names, get to know them, because then when you walk in, they're all loving you, they're hugging you, they're high-fiving you, they're fist bump, they're asking about your kids. And you know what? It has now become your dining room away from your dining room. It is now your home court advantage for these meetings. There's nothing like going in and they think you own the place because of how everybody treats you. There's a power to that. There's a comfort to that. So the first thing is have a home court advantage. And if you're interested in learning more about that, go get the book on referrals. Go get 7L at Amazon, order it. make it happen, and read through how Rick and Michelle use the home court advantage to their benefit. The next part of this is not just have a place, but you need to have a time to meet with them. So you want to listen to me very closely. This is how to use the power of the triangle of trust with your networking. You are going to schedule your one-to-ones back to back to back in a stack. And it's called the networking stack. And just so you know, stacking actions is a brilliant strategy no matter what. Habit stacking is the 4 enriching rituals. It's the morning ritual, the Sunday evening ritual, the nightly ritual, the go home ritual, or the pre-leave ritual. It's just habit stacking. It's just stacking your habits back to back to back. And we use that all the time. But your networking stack is have a one-to-one. I'll give you my times, and then you don't have to do it in an afternoon stack. You can do an evening stack. You can do a breakfast stack, whatever works for you. What worked for me was 11:30 to 1 lunch, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. And that was my Wednesday or Thursday for years. Everybody knew in the afternoons on Wednesday or Thursday, I was out, right? I was going to be at EBT, and which is really cool because then people knew I was at EBT. They stopped by, which is really cool, right? So now, 11:30 to 1, I'm going to meet with, maybe it's the membership chair. That might be a good place, a good person to take to lunch. And I just want you to know, one of the first networking stacks I ever did was the membership chair at the Olathe Chamber of Commerce. And I'm just telling you how amazing this is. I was the first person to go to an Olathe Chamber of Commerce event and invite Dana to a lunch. I was the first person that had ever invited her to a one-to-one. And yet she knew all of the business owners in Olathe, Kansas, which has 200,000 plus people, and was one of the most active and biggest chambers in the country. I was the first one to invite her to a one-to-one. All right. So I have a lunch with her one-to-one. 1 o'clock. I'm going to have one of those connectors from that Chamber of Commerce that I just met meet me at 1. At 2 o'clock, I'm going to have another one. So let's say it was the membership chair, it was a CPA at 1 o'clock, it was a financial planner at 2 o'clock, and then at 3 o'clock, it was a guy who owns a coffee, like a series of coffee shops, right? So I've got my 11:30, 1, 2, and 3. Now, what happens at 1 o'clock? So me and Dana are wrapping up our 1 o'clock, and in comes Jeff, the CPA. Now, they know each other very well, but they didn't know that I was meeting with them each. Now, what did Dana tell me about Jeff? Jeff is a 10. He's a networker. He's the best. But here I am having a meeting with Jeff. So what does Dana instantly assume about me is that Michael's a mover and shaker. Michael's meeting with the best people I know. What does Jeff think when he sees me and Dana meeting for lunch? Michael's a mover and shaker. The triangle of trust. Even though nothing was ever said, it didn't have to be said, but the triangle of trust just got a lot bolder, a lot stronger. Now, at 2 o'clock, what happens? I'm there with Jeff. We're wrapping up our meeting, and in comes Scott, the financial planner. And Scott knows Jeff, and I go to the restroom. Scott and Jeff talk about what? They talk about me and how I met and how they know me or how they met me, right? But they both know each other as 10-level type of professionals. So all of a sudden, 10 plus 10 must be another plus 10. I must be a 10 because I'm meeting with 10s. Now, then at 3 o'clock, Cindy comes in, and Cindy gets the chance to meet with Scott. They already know each other. And by the end of the day, I have met with the most powerful people in that chamber and have asked them questions, built a relationship, maybe even had referrals, which I'm going to talk about on the next Referrals podcast. I'm going to show you how to go into any relationship with referrals in your pocket. And the best way to start a referral relationship is by giving referrals. But that's for next week's story. But to continue this, The power of the networking stack and using the triangle of trust is, first of all, it's the best use of your time. You know that you're going to be dressed right. You don't have to drive 4 different times for 4 different meetings. You have one drive time. It's the drive to and the drive from, which is very efficient. Also, you won't get lost. You won't get sweaty. You won't have any problem. You have a resource. So they're coming to you, which is also an attractive element. Now, I wanted to make sure I connected the 7 steps to connecting with connectors and how the triangle of trust continues with the networking stack, but this isn't the only example of the networking stack. Another example is you have your number one referral source, you take them to lunch. Is that a good idea? Sherry, is it a good idea to take Jeff Crooks to lunch?
Always.
It's always a good idea to take Jeff Crooks to lunch, right? It's always a good idea. So we go to lunch, and then here's the thing. At 1 o'clock, I have somebody that doesn't know me, but I really want to build that relationship. So at 1 o'clock, I'm wrapping up with Jeff, and let's say it's Denise who came in. Then I introduce Jeff and Denise, triangle of trust. I'm connecting them, and then I go to the restroom. Well, Jeff and Denise are standing there, and what is their only point of reference? It's me. So they're going to talk about me, which is always a good thing. And then they get a chance to exchange information and talk about different things. Well, Denise is brand new to me, but who was speaking on my head? Was it me bragging? It wasn't me. Jeff was bragging about me, and that's always more powerful. In the world of promotion, be the promoter. I want you to remember that. In the world of promotion, be the promoter. Be the one talking about others. Don't be the one talking about yourself. That's a powerful thing, is the triangle of trust, the third-party endorsement. Somebody else speaking about you is 10 to 100 times more powerful than you speaking about yourself. Now, at 2 o'clock, continuing the same stack, I met with Jeff. Jeff's gone. I met with Denise. Now at 2 o'clock, I have Joyce come in. Now, Joyce doesn't know Denise, but Denise and Joyce should know each other. I know both of them. So I complete the triangle of trust by introducing the 2 of them and saying, oh my gosh, 2 powerful women in the same city. You 2 should definitely know each other. Here's the thing. I'm going to hit the restroom. And you're like, Michael, you went to the restroom at 1, 2, and 3? And it's like, man, I drink a lot of tea. Yeah, I had to go. But really, I'm doing it for the strategy of all of it. I want to give them a little bit of time alone to not have my energy around. They get a chance to exchange energy, exchange information, and that kind of thing. And then I come back in 3 to 5 minutes, and they're still there. I say, great, thanks, and Joyce and I start our meeting. I cannot tell you how many times that unknown strangers became referral sources within 1 hour because of how it was done. It was done strategically. It was done in sequence. It was done in a stack. And it was done with other people talking about me instead of me talking about me. And that's what the triangle of trust is all about, is what are the scenarios where people will talk about you? And of course, we talked about event mastery. One of the most powerful talk abouts you can have is an event, because they'll talk about it. They're going to talk about it all over, and they're going to talk about you. So today, I just really wanted to continue the 7 steps to connecting with connectors. What to do next? What do you do at the one-to-one? And how do you maximize that opportunity? You stack them. Networking stack. How do we make that even more powerful? You stack them at a home court advantage where you're a regular and a place that really represents who you are and has the type of class that you want to be affiliated with. And that is a winning play called the networking play, which is the 7 steps to connecting with connectors, the networking stack, and then inviting them to your events. That is the networking play that I used over and over and over again to get over 500, 600 documented referrals every year for 12 straight years, and went from unknown to top 3 in the Kansas City area in 3 years. Never been done before. How did I do it? the triangle of trust. And that is all she wrote today. What do you think about that, Sharon? What are some observations that you had like while I was doing this in Kansas City? What did you notice as just kind of like from a third party perspective, you as my wife and just me jumping into real estate and seeing me kind of start doing these housewarming parties and start seeing me implement the networking play. What were you noticing?
Well, first of all, I noticed that it was very natural for you to do. Like you were
Mm-hmm.
really good at it and it came naturally to you. And then the other thing I noticed was that um, the more people you knew, the faster our business grew. And so as our team grew, that was definitely one of the things that we were always like, okay, if Michael is not on the phone or at an appointment, he needs to be at a networking stack. So, I mean, those were the ways that you helped our team grow the fastest. And that's what we kind of administratively made sure that your schedule allowed for.
Yeah, and I love that because you talk about it about everybody always thinks, well, the fastest way to grow is going to be marketing and marketing to strangers because there's more of them, more of the people I don't know
Mm-hmm.
than there are the people I know. So I have to go out and market to strangers. But the problem is they're strangers. There's no trust
Mm-hmm.
established. So the people who do come to you are going to be really hesitant and probably skittish and run away at the first sign. And the other part too is it's really hard to do that because everyone knows someone now. Now with
Yeah.
social media, it's easy for them to go to their friends and say, I need a realtor versus answering some marketing,
Yeah.
which
Well,
is just somebody they don't trust. So I want to go to the number to the thing that you're talking about is you said the more people I met with, the more business we got. I don't want people to think that this is a numbers game. This is not a numbers game. It's a people game. What
yeah.
I did is crack the code on how to grow very quickly through introductions, through trust, instead of through trying to overcome the lack
Yeah.
of trust. It was already trust built. So I
Yeah.
didn't have to convince anybody. I didn't have to follow up 9 to 12 times. I didn't they were sold from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? I could meet more people and guess what happened at every one of my networking stacks? People were ready to introduce me to more people. Our
Yeah.
biggest problem was trying to stay
On top of
keep
it. Yeah.
on top of it and keep track of the F bombs that, oh, by the way, that's probably something I need to cover at a future referrals podcast. But, our follow-up system
Yeah.
was, we had so many people on it and it was overlapping so much that it was a challenge just to make sure that we're on top of that. Imagine that your business is growing and your network and your tribe of trust is building so quickly that you're having trouble following up with all the referrals and all the introductions and connections. That's a
Well,
great problem to have.
and I want to say too that like when you're marketing to strangers, you have to start calculating things like how many calls do I need to make until I get a live person? And then how many live people do I need to get in front of before I get one of them to give me an appointment? And then how many appointments do I need to get before I finally get a piece of business? Versus working by referral. Michael, how many people like do you need to get in front of to get business?
One,
Exactly.
maybe two. Hmm.
Maybe two. Maybe.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like, but how many appointments do you have to go on to get the listing?
One, or
One,
yeah,
because it
yeah,
was referred.
yeah, yeah. And well, here's the other thing. According to NAR statistics, how many of the people who became clients and bought or sold talked to more than one realtor? It was less than 17% talked to more than 83% of all people go with the first realtor they're given. They
They
meet
meet with.
or they trust, right? And it's like that's an insanely high
Mm-hmm.
number. And guess what? I had very few listing appointments where I had competition.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I did have competition, I was referred. So I had an in. I was already going to win over the person who farms and markets that neighborhood because somebody else said, and by the way, and this is a very powerful point, and I want people to write this down and just know here is the difference between the ego era and the generosity generation. During the ego era, it was about preying on the weak. I just saw Mariana Vaughn something, and she has a show called Trafficked. Is that what it's called? What's the name of that?
Oh
That
yeah, trafficked. Mariana Van Zeller.
so she has a show, and it was about scams, and how, I mean, in Israel and Jamaica they make millions and billions of dollars on scams. They literally have buildings with 1,000 callers who are scamming, mostly older people. Why are they paying? Because they're lonely. I mean, that's sad. That just, like, literally, that made me tear up watching that, and then watching them do it, and the person, like, sending the credit card information in, and, like, wow, you know. But the thing, I mean, that's why the tribe of trust and triangle of trust is so powerful. The ego era was preying on the weak, right? And the people, the scammers in Jamaica and Israel weren't apologetic. They didn't feel bad because they're idiots. They're idiot. Who would send money and think they won a lottery of $2.7 million and send money for a processing fee? Like, they're idiots. They deserve to be separated from their money, right? And that was the old adage of the financial planners and the realtors and everything else. It was preying on the weak. Well, guess what? In today's world, the generosity generation, it's about partnering with the strong. Instead of preying on the weak, here's the thing. When you're preying on the weak, right? You call someone until you find someone weaker than you dominate them, and you sell them, or whatever it may be, right? Well, the problem with preying on the weak is you never get referrals. I mean, is that scammer going to get referrals? Like, hey, listen, I bet my friend over here would send you a processing fee for the $2.7 million in lottery that they didn't win, right? No. And it's the same thing is when you're preying on the weak. And here's the other thing. If you're preying on the weak and the weak does refer you, will the person who was referred work with you? And the fact is no, because they were referred by a weak person. Partnering with the strong is partner with tens. Build relationships with tens, high-level people. When the financial planner refers us a piece of business, you know what happens? They use us. When the CPA says, we really think you should use Michael and his team, partner with the strong. Get really good at partnering. Get your scripts, your dialogues, your sales systems, your processes in place to partner with the strong. Instead of learning all the scripts and the ABC, right? The always be closing scripts and all the different things you can say and the scam artist language, and get rid of all that. And instead relearn the language of partnering with the strong, because when the strong refers you, the referrals work with you with no questions asked. It's faster. It's more beautiful. It serves everybody. But you know what? It's a challenge worth conquering to learn how to partner with the strong. You got to learn how to get stronger. You got to be growing. So that's the triangle of trust today in a nutshell. Sherry, any final words of wisdom on the indirect approach versus the direct approach?
No, it works.
It works. I think that's the summary of all of it. I think that's a powerful thing. You know, people say talk's cheap, but talk is not cheap when you're talking about others. And talk is not cheap when others are talking about you. That's talk that's not cheap. The ego era, the talk was cheap. In the current, I mean, you know those people out there on social media and everything. Every time they say a word, it's all BS. Your BS meter goes off the charts. The beautiful thing about partnering with the strong and implementing the triangle of trust is no BS. You don't have to BS. You can just be you and be honest. And in some cases, give the worst case scenario or nuclear case scenario and win even more clients. And that's what I love about it. So today's episode is part 3 of the Triangle of Trust. Next time we will touch on part 4 and start wrapping up the Triangle of Trust series. I hope you're getting a lot of value out of this. Please let me know in the GenGen group by going to joingengen.com or check out eventmastery.com to find out how you can get referrals at your event in July. Otherwise, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate my guest host here with me today, Sherry L. Maher, and I appreciate you, the listener, for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you next week on the next episode of Referrals Podcast. See you, everybody. As always, thank you for listening to the Referrals Podcast and reviewing the show on your favorite app. We read every single review, and I know many people read the reviews, and in some cases have even referred the people who have done reviews. And I give a shout out occasionally to the ones that I love the most. A very special thank you for sharing the show with other business people, salespeople, including realtors, lenders, warranty reps, title, and honestly, any business that wants and needs referrals, and what business doesn't want repeat business and referral business. Every time you share the show, you're potentially changing someone's life because they can go from pushy salespeople or trying to do business the traditional way to building a business based on love, generosity, and appreciation that floods them with referrals and repeat business. And when they go to bed at night, they can put their head on their pillow and relax because they understand that they can have peace of mind about where their next piece of business comes from. Go to joingengen.com and we'll add you to our private Facebook group. That's joingengen.com, joingengen.com. We'd love to have you. And stay tuned for the next episode of Referrals Podcast.